a unique podcast. You're the sales manager, here at Compass, handling the, Lewes, Coastal Delaware, Sussex County area. And Compass does a lot of things unique. I've recently made the change, went from a previous brokerage and came over to Compass in September, and it's been so many light switches that have turned on for me personally, for business, but then more so what has been made available to me to provide to my clients.
Right.
Plenty on the buy side, but so much on the sell side, or the listing side for listing agents. There's a number of products, and we can dive into it. But from our lingo, the private exclusives, which is I don't want to say in-house, but listings that are within Compass and not out on the MLS. And there's I'm learning more and more about how much on the MLS is whether is it good or bad for clients. But there's ways of testing the market, and then there's make me sell, and there's all kinds of things that the Compass team is doing on the back end side to help give us tools to help support our clients, and I don't know, approach the market from a different perspective, which is I mean, I love that. Like, I love this, like, hey, what are new ways of doing stuff? So
there's a lot there. Like, our obviously I'm biased, but our focus at Compass is keeping the agent at the center of the transaction, just because like the human element of this thing is what's most important, right? There's a human buying a property, there's a human selling a property. Having that guide to handle all of the chaos that kind of goes on and give you the steps of the way, if you're equipped with some technology and a network and some scale and support, it makes an agent's job easier to actually go and serve clients better. And I think that's the miss, is like, realtors get a bad rap, right? Like, for years we were like the least trusted profession out there, and agents are kind of known for just open doors and collecting checks, and a lot of agents have earned that reputation. And I think the folks that we try to attract and work with are ones that we want you to think about this from a sophisticated point of view, to really care for clients, and then come behind you and say, okay, this is what can help a consumer. Like, figure out what plays to run for the right seller or for the right buyer, so that, if their goal is to sell quickly, make the most money, take their time to sell, buy in the right neighborhood, you're equipped to do that with efficiency.
Yeah. Well, and I think that also, as an agent, I had always heard about this Compass technology and whatnot, and it was all great. And I was like, hey, I have technology too. I have a CRM, and I have software, and I have automated emails and things that I do. So, like, cool, I'm good. And it isn't until you're in it to where it's not that type of technology. And maybe, I don't know, maybe all agents, maybe they're even in Compass, I'm not sure, and they're not super tech savvy, and they don't realize how strong and powerful the platform really is from a client perspective. And that's kind of where I always come at, is like, when I made the change, I made it for myself and for the team always, but it was like, what does it bring to the table for me, for my clients? Like, what am I able to provide from a service standpoint? And there's so much in the first couple of months of just trying to digest, changing license and all that, whatever. But then it's like, as we dive into the platform, and there's like, what's this private exclusive thing? And it's, and I think you talked about it once. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, cool. And then you talked about it again, and all of a sudden it's like this light clicks, and it's like, wait a second. And especially right now, like, and by right now, I meaning like, Q4 of 2024, for people that are thinking about listing their home, what's the normal thing? Hey, when should I list my home? In the spring, because it's flowering, and buyers are back out, and that's when you should list your home. And there may be some validity to that. But the reason why you would do that then and not now is that if you listed your home on the MLS right now, and the buyers truly aren't coming out, and at least from what you're being told, until March, you're collecting days on market, which is the evil number. It's like, oh no, which I don't know why it really matters, but it does. It's one of these things that's, I don't know, it's just been taught that like days on market is a thing.
Days on market is kind of funny. There's a lot of these negative insights that are out there. I think about days on market. It's kind of like, a product getting dusty.
Yeah.
Or we've all had clients like this, and me as a buyer, as I'm looking at properties, if I see, the property hasn't taken any price drops and it's been on the market for 180 days, I'm thinking there's a deal here, right? Or something's wrong with the house, right? Something's really wrong with it.
Someone came through with an inspector and they saw, what is wrong? And then now you just stay away from it.
That's right. You assume that everyone else. It's easy to be like, oh, well, if this was a great house at this price, someone else would have bought it.
Sure.
And then again, the flip side of the coin is you might offer on it, but hey, we're going to offer $50,000 less, $60,000 less. And that might be helpful for a buyer. It's not helpful for a seller. This is probably the most expensive asset they own.
Sure.
Right. It's not protecting that value. So we're trying to do a few things that I think bring another option to the table to help the client of our agents protect their value of their assets. And so I think right now we're challenging the assumption that the best thing to do is just go straight to the MLS, and we should wait until, May when, school year's winding down, and especially here in Sussex County, people want to buy right before it's summer season so they can spend the time down at the beach. We're kind of challenging that assumption.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that it's, we were talking a little bit before this, and I think that's, and I'll use an analogy for spring also. I played lacrosse. Lacrosse is a spring season. I'm not going to spend my time from now and then to buy cleats and buy shoulder pads or whatever. And then, okay, the first game is on, April 1st and gear up and then just hit the field. You got to practice and warm up. And I think the things that are now being offered to clients through the Compass platform is that exact thing. Right. So yes, we're going to take pictures, which is like buying your cleats, and we're going to do the things, but we're also going to exercise and warm up beforehand. Yeah. And that is taking the listing, a private exclusive listing. And for people that are watching this that are, potential sellers, a private exclusive is a listing that is within the Compass platform. And what's different than a lot of brokerages is the Compass platform isn't Sussex County.
Right.
It's the Compass platform, which is, this the whole country. Yep. And we know that the vast majority of buyers that are coming down here are coming from out of the area. They're not within our area. So we get to reach out through the platform to all these agents or people that have signed up or, that are in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, PA, Virginia, whatever, all those areas, agents that might have clients that are looking at this, and test the waters with pricing, with options, whatever it might be. Have people come in, hey, what did you think? Should we paint the walls? We've been kind of toying with, is it worth the money or not? Yep. Are we priced too high, or whatever it might be? And number one, we might get a sale, which is best. That's phenomenal. But if not, we've got true data, and we're data junkies. We get to hit the ground running on April 1st on game day. Yeah. With true data, truly warmed up, and and not just guessing. We're not guessing game, and we don't spend the MLS days guessing.
Racking up 90 days just to get to the right price. I was looking at the data this week. Over the past 90 days, if you have got a listing that sits on the market for more than 10 days, average 5% price drop.
Wow.
That's a $500,000 listing. That's $25,000 drop, right?
It's money.
That's
real
significant money. So there's a lot that could be done against that. And so we try to use that, what we're calling the private exclusive phase, where, typically an agent might leave a conversation with the client. We want to list in 30 days. We're going to be ready for showings. Well, that first 30-day period, we can make use of that time instead of just sitting on our hands. We can get active. And so, to your point, we go where we're number one in the market in DC, Philadelphia, New York. We're communicating with other agents manually, saying, "Hey, tell me what you think about this property." We're doing that pre-marketing stuff with photos or without too, which I think is a unique deal. And then anybody that's searching with a Compass agent is going to get access to that property. Yep. And we can make unique types of comments, ask for unique feedback, and then our price can fluctuate and our days on market can fluctuate without a history of that. Yeah. So you can test it for a week at $1 million, and then the next week go down to 850, and no one will know. There'll be no record of that. And I think that gives choice to a seller where we can see how can we generate interest by adjusting our price accordingly. And the best thing is you can get an offer, you don't have to accept it.
Yeah.
And then we're still preparing. We're still heading. We're making our way towards that MLS launch.
Well, and as a seller, I mean, you have an emotional attachment to your house.
Right.
And look, everyone, thinks, hey, the house is maybe the market is saying the house is worth 600. They think it's worth 6 million. Everyone always thinks, because it's their baby. They spend time, blood, sweat, and tears, and and not everyone is all. Sometimes they attribute value to things that is value to them.
Yeah.
And isn't necessarily value to someone else. We put this beautiful wallpaper in, and it's like, well, someone may come in and say, how much now is it going to cost me to take that wallpaper off and have it repainted? So we have to, get data to say what and where and pricing wise. But with that being said, sellers sometimes have the pie in the sky idea on pricing, and now we can test it. We had we being Compass had that listing in a community over in Rehoboth. It went up and the agent thought that it was had a different idea on pricing. The seller had a different idea on pricing. So we said, let's give it a shot at your idea. Got data. And then, did it hit MLS?
Yeah, it hit MLS this is a $1.2 million property, or that's what the seller wanted to list it for. After getting feedback, clients through there, having a few brokers opens before they were on MLS, I think they went to MLS in the low 9s.
Yeah.
And got an offer in 2 weeks.
Well, I was going to say, and when was that? Just recently.
Yeah, that was 30, 45 days ago.
Yeah. So like not in September to when the market was booming, when things started to already slow down, but because it came to market in an intelligent fashion, an intelligent way. And the seller didn't say, have his agent saying, this is where I think the price needs to be at.
Yep.
The agent got to come back with, this is the feedback that we've been getting.
That's right.
And that it was like, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
This agent is just trying to, list it at a low price just to get it sold. And what happened is now it went on the MLS and sold, fairly quickly, which is like, that's the magic. That's right. It's such a smart way of being able to go to the market, especially in a slower market like right now, Q4 going into Q1.
And you've seen here in Sussex County, especially in the beach hundreds, the zip codes touching the beach, we see so much seasonality. Yeah. So a comp that would have worked 30 days ago, 60 days ago, might not work now in December.
Totally.
And so the old way of doing things, the traditional model in real estate is to walk in and say, okay, what do you think the pricing, what do you want to sell this house for? Great. Well, here's what the spreadsheet says. Yeah. And it's not great. And honestly, no agent walks into that conversation with more than 70% confidence on pricing, like full disclosure, right? We can do our best to run the numbers, run the stats, and we really don't know until we start getting feedback from consumers because they're determining the market. And so that is not a seller friendly process, right? We want to be able to come and say, hey, here's where we think it's going to be. Let's take the next 7, 14, 45 days to really understand what the market's appetite for this is. And so that we're seeing a lot of agents use that right now to help their sellers accomplish their goals. That's what's most important at the end of the day is, what's your goal? Do you want to sell for top dollar? Great. Here's a strategy for that. Do you want to sell in the next 7 days? Here's a strategy for that, and be able to leverage that in just a kind of I think a unique way in the market, because the alternative is, let's just put it on MLS and see, or I'll send it out to my newsletter list, and that doesn't work. I think right now, Wicked just came out, right? But Wicked didn't start advertising the day that it was available to see in the movies, right? And I'm the target audience for Wicked. My wife's getting the ads. I'm getting sent stuff on TikTok. We're seeing the whole thing. We're the target market. And Wicked's been doing that for 9, 12 months at this point.
Building up,
building the interest. Yep. And why can't a seller market their property like that? That's what we need to be able to do. And so that's where the private exclusive comes in. And then I think the second phase, I think is actually one that I'm most excited about, because we can now go from marketing that just internally to Compass agents. But once we're ready, we can turn that live to consumers who are searching on the internet, doing Google searches, searching for specific neighborhoods, or even searching on our platform, and still they're not racking up days on market. They can be publicly accessible.
Yeah.
And so someone searching for Rehoboth Beach Yacht and Country Club, that listing will show up in their Google search without racking up days on market on the MLS. And that's another way that we get unique exposure to a target market. And I think target market is really this interesting idea, because we're so used to just putting a listing on the MLS and it gets lost in the noise,
Yeah.
right? There's hundreds of thousands of people looking. There's tons of listings, depending on what's going on in the market, and you can get lost because you're looking at everybody instead of the right buyer. And that's where I think we're going to see a lot of development for Compass and for Compass agents on how do we help you get in front of the right buyer faster. And then it's always fun to get that right buyer in front and say, hey, buyer, you want to offer at X price? Well, it's going to be this if you want us to keep it from going to the full market on MLS, and see if we can generate a high above ask or above list price offer. So it's just a unique kind of half step that I think we're trying to leverage to get more value out of the sales.
Yeah, and I think that it's when we met with Robert, who's the CEO of Compass, who is just the most grassroots down to earth guy ever. It's really crazy to meet someone that is a CEO at, I think he's 45 or something.
Yeah.
Being as successful as he is and being so humble.
Yeah.
You know, like we had that watch party the other day and pardon me, and someone made a comment about the signs or whatever, and he was like, cool, like what do we have to do to change it?
Yeah.
No, like didn't take offense to it or whatever. Like is so like hyper sensitive to what agents need and want to service their clients, but is more so hyper sensitive to the client and the client experience, you know, as they come in, because he understands it's not just about spreadsheets and dollar signs. The people build those spreadsheets and dollar signs. They build the foundation that those spreadsheets and dollar signs, are built off of. So it's like, you know, and that's where I think, and being forward thinking and like, you know, how do we do things differently and not just, you know, status quo, do the same thing? Because, you know, all things being equal, people shop at the cheapest place, you know? So like, you know, he's like, how can we offer something that's different? And not to say that Compass is more expensive, but that's unique, that'll make people say, aha, like thank God, you know, it's not the same thing, you know, decade after decade of, you know, hey, you come in, like, you know, like you said, let's pull up some comps, blah, 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 blah. This is what the house is worth. You put on the MLS, you go coming soon for 2 days. And, you know, and I don't know of, and I could be fully mistaken, but I don't know of another brokerage that has built a platform that robust and that has this type of thing that's offered. And not only that, it's cool to have the platform, but you know, we always said, you know, a beautiful billboard in the middle of the desert does nothing for you. So having this great platform is cool. Yeah. But if no one's going to it or utilizing it, you know, what good is it? So he's also has so much time and energy put into the Compass search platform of making sure that people are also using it. And look, you know, is it ever going to overtake Zillow? I have no idea. They're kind of, you know, they're the monster, but you know, having that additional 20% of homes and knowing at any point in time, if you're searching on Zillow, Realtor.com, you know, whatever it is, any other platform, that you potentially are not seeing up to 20% of available homes in the market. And, you know,
it's what are you doing, right? You're missing out on something that could work.
The perfect house.
The house, right?
Yeah, the one that you're looking for. So it's like...
It's a big deal. And even to the point of like, will we ever overtake Zillow? 15 years ago, 20 years ago, no one would have thought that Zillow would be the conglomerate that has all these listings in the first place. And when an industry gets complacent, you know, everyone suffers, right? And I think that goes to be the buyer and the seller. And one example is like on Zillow. If you go to Zillow as a buyer to buy a house, you're looking around on the listing, you know, you're finding out all this great information. It's super helpful information. And you go to click contact an agent. You're not going to the listing agent. Zillow, their job is to sell leads, not houses. You're going to somebody who's paid for that click, paid to get that interaction. So that person's not familiar with that home. They're not best equipped to go and answer those questions, really serve you. You know, you might find a great relationship from that, but I don't think that that's necessarily the best way to field some of those inquiries. But that's their business model. And so part of what we want to do is put the power back in the hands of the agent and that seller, because Zillow, they're going to have a lot of those negative insights, days on market, you know, additional stuff about, you know, flooding. I mean, like, and really obscure things to make it seem like it's Zestimate's a great point.
How many people out there that are watching this have you looked up your property in Zestimate and go like, man, that's what my house is worth?
Yeah.
It's not looking at, I say this to sellers all the time. They're like, well, what about the cost per square foot? I'm like, well, what's the quality of each square foot? If this square foot is carpet and this square foot is 24 karat gold, this one's worth more.
Yeah.
So like we have to look at the home. You can't just look at square footage and then what's the average cost per square foot in the area. It's so anecdotal. We have to look at every home individually and see like what have you done to this home and what is it valued. Yeah. Now we have to look at some things, of saying again, you did this for you, and I understand that you think there's value, but it is, but that's the Zestimate thing doesn't take. It's an algorithm. It's not a human being, and I think that's where. I think that the Compass platform is trying to bring the human being, which is the agent, back into it. And the one thing that I try to think of, and I had an aha moment, like a month or two ago, and it's like, what's Zillow's job? Like, what is their purpose?
Yeah.
They're not a brokerage. They don't, what are they doing? Mm-hmm. And when hearing Robert, it's like they're collecting data.
Yeah.
So like you as the seller, like you think like, oh well, this is a great way of me getting my property out there, even if you're FISBOing it. And hey, I'm gonna put it gives me an opportunity to get my home out in front of people. And I guess at some point it does, but really what you're doing is you're giving them free data.
Yep.
And you don't. It doesn't cost. You're not even getting paid for it.
Yeah.
And you're giving them free data. They're collecting data to sell off, but they're algorithms. They're using algorithms to figure this thing, not people,
not humans.
And that's missing it.
There's a piece of the technology's good, but you need the tool to do the right job, and so their tool is doing the right job, which is generate more leads that they can sell.
Yes.
Right? They're making money every which way but sideways at this point.
And kudos to them. Like, hey, they came up with the platform and it works.
I cannot disagree with that.
Yeah, like people buy into it. That's great, but they don't know that they've never been told. I think it's like Zillow's just become a household term or name, and it's now they need to understand of like, well, what actually is it? And no one ever takes that step because it's just not really thought of.
Like Gary Keller said this like 2015, 2017. He was like, we're losing so slowly, it feels like we're winning.
Yeah.
Describing brokerages as compared to these syndication sites, because Zillow does have their brokerage license. They're multi-layer. They're adding in all of these things that eventually will take the human out of, or they're going to try to take the human out of the process. Which, great. I'm all for capitalism and figuring out what actually serves the consumer best. And there will be people who like to go through that process. I think we've got the largest, realtors are the largest section of entrepreneurs in the country. Yeah. It's not even close. Yeah. And that, like, if you're going to go and try to rob the power from some of the most inspirational, hardest working people in our country and just flip a switch and say technology can replace that, I think you're betting on the wrong thing. Now, Zillow's helpful. And when I was working with clients, I would say, let's teach you how to be dangerous with Zillow without it being dangerous to you. So how can we use the mortgage calculator as well? How can we be safe here? How can we make sure they're not taking our data? And then from a listing perspective, how can we make sure that we have the most control of our internet presence? How can we make sure we maintain your privacy to the degree that you want to? Because I think as time goes on, privacy is going to be such a big deal, because to your point, Robert said this in our call on Wednesday. He said data is the new oil, right? Yeah. Everybody wants data. Yeah. We can sell data. We can repackage it. And for that to only be something that the Fortune 500 company can access, or someone like Zillow can access, I think that's a misuse of power. Like, I want to give the data, like, our job is give data back to the seller. Yeah. And give them an advocate in a listing agent. Say, how do we make the best decision with the data? So, taking this back to that, someone thinking, I want to sell in the spring, and like, what would that process even look like? How do we get data in that? Like, we're going to give you insights of, who's looking from where, what Compass agent can we get you connected with, or get connected with to help get us in front of more buyers? Can we run digital ads? Can we do retargeting? Can we run some sort of campaign to get more, to have a better chance of capturing our most likely buyer that could be coming up from New York? Yeah. Buy down here a beach house in Sussex County, and to avoid some of the taxes that they might face in the Jersey Shore.
Which is like a massive number of the people that are, if we look at transactions that are going on, especially on the buy side, well, I guess on our transactions to
Yeah.
buy and sell side.
Yeah.
But compared to like new construction, but we are the number of them that are incoming from out of the area. I'm not sure what the percentage is, but I can imagine it's well above 50%.
Yeah, I think it's like 55 to 62% is kind of the number. It's like
which
they're
is
out
huge.
of just generally out of Sussex County.
Yeah.
It's rare. I mean, to be really hyper local, it's rare to say somebody's already living in Rehoboth and they're going to go 3 miles down the road and buy a new house, right?
Yeah, they had another kid and they need a bigger house, or their kids went off to college and need something smaller, or they're downsizing, upsizing, whatever it might be. I think it happens. I just don't think. I mean, from my experience, from my clients, it hardly ever happens for me on the new build side because so many people are coming in for that. But I mean, just it's so frequent that people are, because of our taxes, our low taxes, and hey, at the same time we live by the beach and slower lifestyle and laid back and blah blah, all the things that we know that are so great about it. But that's great. But again, how do we, when we're servicing our seller, make sure that we're representing that property as best possible? Yeah. And especially right now. So the question comes, if hey, I'm sitting in my home and today is what's today? Today is the 13th of December, and like, hey, we're thinking about listing our house in the springtime. What do we do? When do we contact an agent and start the process? And kind of my perspective on this in August, pre coming over would have been call now, and then we'll kind of put a game plan together. And then, once the flowers bloom, we'll take some pictures and, we'll get the listing agreement signed, and then we'll go on the market. As of today, now I'm like, call today. Yeah. Let's get pictures up so that way, pictures taken today, get it on its private exclusive, start to gather data, potentially get a buyer. Yeah. Because again, we only need one.
That's all it takes.
Like, we don't need, this vast number. Now, it's always a numbers game, but the first one could be the first one that buys.
That's right.
So we only need one. And while this is a slower market, there are still transactions that are happening now.
I mean, significant amount of transactions.
Yeah. Like, doesn't go to zero.
It's not to zero. We do see a reduction, but I think, to your point, all it takes is one. And then, getting a little bit of interest and somebody sitting on that for 60 days, them seeing the other listings that come up and they're like, oh my gosh, I think we've seen the best one. Yeah. Right. And then also, we're working with a lot of agents on having these conversations with their clients of, one, what's best for your client, right? We have to start there. And if you would accept a contract without going to MLS at your ideal price and be under contract for 30, 60, 90 days to allow you the comfort to move at the right time, like, we can do that without hitting the MLS. Like, that becomes a lot of fun because it's such a unique solution. And we can even take photos without having the house in perfect shape. Yeah. Because on the other side of this is a Compass agent. Like, the best, what we think about is like one of the top places to grow and grow your professional career. So one of the best agents that you can possibly be working with is me setting expectations with their client, saying, hey, these people don't want to move until X date, but if we want it, we need to go under contract now, and we need to put this much money down to secure that, and let's play nice for the next 90 days. That makes everybody's process go so much easier because you've got great agents on both sides, a unique situation for the seller, a unique situation for the buyer. And then, say in the event we don't find that right one, we get better photos when it gets green out, right? And then we're launching in a way where we can adjust and say, great, we saw, a 200% increase in listings go up this week. This is not the time to go. We're going to let those guys kind of sizzle and start taking price drops. Yeah. And then we're going to wait 2 weeks and go do our public debut with a better price because our goal is to get multiple offers. Like, again, we want to avoid being on the market for more than 10 days. Yeah. Like 14 to 21 days is okay. If we go over that, we need to change the strategy a little bit. Granted, our days on market average here is like 46, 47 days. Yeah. So we're seeing a lot of price drops. There you go.
It's not 2021 anymore.
Right.
We get that.
Yeah. But the idea being, and this is a common misconception. It's like, if I think my house is worth 900, I need to list it for 900 or maybe 915, and then I'll drop down if I need to. Well, I think a better strategy is to get people working against each other. Honestly, get a buyer saying, great, I love this house at 875. I love it so much, I'm willing to pay 890. We know that it's going to praise for this. Obviously, we have to be intelligent about the way that we're doing these pricing strategies, but I'll pay an 890 for it. And then we get consumers on the buy side coming in and saying, hey, this is what this house is valued to me. And so maybe I'll pay maybe I'll pay $9.15. And so we create a situation where somebody is paying what it's actually worth to them instead of they're coming in and negotiating with you at the start. There's a lot of nuance there, but that is a tried and true process that works across markets, is pricing accurate or a little low to generate as much interest as possible.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I think is also another kind of part of the platform that's another bonus on it.
Yeah.
And this is good for, an agent who's working for the sellers, but this is also good for, this whole platform, this whole discussion really is, it's for the seller, but it's also, if there's agents that are looking, that are watching this podcast, like reach out. You need to learn about this, because if you're not being provided this type of stuff, like you need to learn about it, because it's like, honestly, like it was eye opener for me. But I can put a listen in as whether it's a regular MLS listen, or even better as a private exclusive. And then I can click on one button that says reverse prospect.
Yep.
And what that does is shows me every single client that is with another agent that they've set up criteria that this home reaches. Because sometimes, an agent misses it, or, and yes, it'll hopefully hit the inbox of the client, and maybe, their email's broken or whatever. But I can say, hey, John, I see that you have a client, that you've set up that that meets their criteria. When, do you want to come down and check out the house?
Yeah.
I get to reach out proactively, servicing my client and say, hey, just so you know, I reached out to, 1, 10, 30, 50, 100, whatever, however many clients that there are in that database.
Yep.
Some of them could be here, some of them could be up in New York, whatever, wherever that search criteria is set up. And I can tell my client, and this is something else I'm doing for you.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're putting in the work to go and make the match, right? Like, we're kind of rolling up our sleeves and going to work instead of saying, oh, we'll put it up on MLS and see what happens.
And you sit back and wait.
Right?
You sit there with a baseball glove, like waiting for things to drop in it. That's not how, that's where the misconception of realtors and like, what are they making?
Yeah.
And we're saying, well, the guys at Compass, guess what we're doing?
Yeah, we're putting in these extra steps. And I think even like the idea of make me sell is really, I something I'm really excited about, because we're collecting information from sellers and saying, what's your aspirational price? What's your dream price? Even if it's ridiculous, your house is worth $500,000, you would sell it for $750,000. It's ridiculous. But I'd like to have that information, especially if, you already know, like, and trust me as your agent. And then we'll put that in your database. And if somebody comes along that's looking in that neighborhood, maybe, $750,000 is a little too rich, but, they're willing to pay a little bit of a premium for the right house. Now that Compass agent is going to be able to contact the other agent and say, hey, it looks like you have a client with an aspirational price of this. You think they'd play ball with us? We'd love to see it. They don't need to worry about cleaning up the house. Let us swing by at this point. And so we can play matchmaker without even having to have like some of that really heavy commitment of like, I do want to list. It's just simply knowing that information, providing value to sellers and buyers that way. And then I think here coming in February, things get really fun with Compass One, which this is like one of the, like, kind of the culmination of a lot of the consumer, like the buyer seller facing work that we're doing. It's like it's a one of a kind client portal where, as a buyer or seller, all of your transaction lives in one place. So all that clutter, that chaos that happens, because it is a confusing process. I've bought a few houses. It's a confusing process, even as a professional. And see the checklist, see the processes that are taking place, have all your documents in one spot. I can get a response from my agent quickly here, and you like to use it because it's going to be an elegant app and on the website. Creating reasons for them to be endeared to you.
Yeah,
trust.
Trust. And documents not just until closing.
Yeah.
You continue to have that account. So. Whatever, you decide to go sell your house and you need to pull up your seller's disclosure.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, where did I put that? Where's that folder? And was that in that stack that we shredded or whatever? Oh,
what's my title commitment say?
Right. Instead you go back in, which hopefully you're probably going to use that agent again, or maybe a different agent, from Compass, and and then they have access to all that data as well. So it's really it's genius to kind of like have that kind of like one-stop shop scenario. One login, you don't have multiple logins and all that, but then again, you're just right back into the same platform in a way. And they kind of, to touch real quick on what you said earlier, the make me sell, that's that's another layer of the onion. That's like so we had You have MLS, which is like the main layer, which is,
it's kind of like Amazon.
Yep. Then we have, private exclusive, which is like one step and, different level of commitment, not quite as, and then make me sell is just like a conversation.
Yeah.
So let's just say, someone's watching this podcast and, they live in Tidewater Landing and they're like, I would love to sell my Kingfisher, but I don't know. What could I get for it? Could I get 900?
Yeah.
I don't know, but we can just put it in there without contractual obligations and see if we find someone.
See if you find someone. And my part is like you still keep your privacy too.
Yeah.
So like no one is going to see that this address has this price associated with it aside from agent. So in this scenario, like you're having coffee with somebody, they tell you my dream price is $1 million. My dream price is 900,000. Cory's the only one that knows about it. But if someone's searching with the Compass agent, that Compass agent will get notified and say, hey, Cory's got a client in this radius with this type of house.
Yeah.
Call him for more information. So it keeps that anonymity. And then we can actually come and have human to human conversations, right?
I was like, hey, look, 900 might be a little crazy. My people said, if you were like in that 825 and then you're like, dude, I'll do 825 too. Yeah. Well, then next thing you know, well, now your house is under contract and, it's easy peasy. It's just, again, I think it's just thinking outside the box. It's just like, we don't need to continue to do it the same way that we've been doing it for decades. I mean, literally, the only thing we are doing different really is instead of having an MLS book, we've got it online. Yeah. And like instead of hand delivering things, or faxing them, now it's all done, with e-signature. It's still the same process. The technology just made it easier and faster, but the steps are the same.
Yeah. Same thing. There's been
Why?
no innovation.
It's 2024, almost 2025. What the heck is going on here?
Yeah, one of our core values is learn from reality, and that means a lot of things. But one of it is like look out. Like we can look outside of the industry and see what's working in other industries, and come back and give our clients that advantage. Yeah. So in the same, like, again, I'll keep using this marketing example, but same way that Apple markets an iPhone, 6-9 months of lead up, conference, all this promotion. Same way that Wicked gets promoted, like that's what our consumers should have access to. And likewise with agents, it's like, what are the best processes that these, the top, most sophisticated companies are able to leverage? How do we simplify them? And ultimately, like the big idea, I think, to like on the technology is like it should save you time. Yeah. Like it should save you between it's about 5 and 8 hours a week in running your normal processes, contracts, emails, that sort of stuff, just by using the platform so that you can go and do what you're supposed to be doing. That's taking care of clients, right? Well, I don't want the technology to be slowing you down. And that's only one piece of the Compass puzzle, but it's such a big piece because we're investing. I mean, at this point, we're $2 billion in. And as a publicly traded company, it better work, right? So we see our agents grow, the agents that are using the platform. It's 99.99999% adoption. But the top 25% of users are getting so much time back, getting so much actually, working with more clients ever to serve people at a better scale. And that's when you really get to start having fun, especially someone in my position where like agents are they're kind of fighting their stride as entrepreneurs and they're taking care of the people that, they want to be taken care of. And then you get to be a part of these stories of, a home purchase where it's a family moving in or they're achieving their dream of having a beach house or they're able to, transition. And what I think about their 5-10 year plan of getting out of, the metropolitan area in here to the lower, slower Delaware lifestyle. Like that's why we do this. And so we have all these moving pieces to do it really well. You know what I mean? So that's where we're trying to innovate.
Well, and I think that it's, and not that I'm anywhere at that level, but, kind of when I came into this industry, I came from the building side and I was always like, I feel like, the same thing. It's the same thing. Everyone's doing the same exact thing. Someone walks into your office, it's, hi, how are you? I'm a realtor. I'm looking to buy how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how many price, what's your price point, what town you're looking at, and they go on the MLS and they hit print and they go look at it. And it's like, wow, weren't there like 50 steps to do before that? Yeah. Like, especially here. I mean, maybe if you're in the suburbs of Philly or New York or something and you're kind of doing that like 1 mile move, you already know the area. But this is such a lifestyle area. It's like, how do you even know? Like they're telling you where they want to buy. Did you even ask them why?
Yep.
And it's like, there's got to be a different way. And I mean, again, I don't know right or wrong. I'm not sure it works for me and my clients, but I spend 2 hours doing a discovery meeting where we just talk about where to get gas. If you lived in this community, where do you get gas? Where do you dine? Where do you eat?
Yep.
And so all of that, and that's just kind of worked into the process for how we do things. And that's why, the office was designed to be the way it is for that client experience.
Yep.
And that's why, and it's so funny. I remember when I first started talking with Compass, and it's like, oh, I know your platform. I'm good. I got my processes. I'm good. Yeah. And then I made the switch. Then you and I talked, and it was like, no, I'm good. And then it's like, whoa, I'm missing out on so much if I don't dive into this. And again, part of the reason why I made the change was to provide more for my clients.
Yep.
What am I doing? And that's where you said 99.999. I'm like, I almost was at 0.0001 until I saw the power of it. And it's like, what am I? I got to be an idiot if I don't, because again, I feel as though my first obligation is to my clients.
Yeah, that's right.
If I have a tool, if I'm framing walls and I'm still using a hammer and nails when I got a nail gun over here, what is the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result? Come on, this is 2024, almost 2025. We've got so much technology, and if we're continuing to have clients come in and say, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, or you want to sell your house, here's a comp, whatever, but expect a different result.
Yep.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
Literally, by definition.
Literally. I think a lot of the conversation I have, and we talk about this often, is like, you want people to work with you for your process, not just your personality.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Because if it's depending on your personality, you're going to have a bad day and it's going to be raining outside and you're not going to take great care of your clients. But if your processes are sharp, if they're clean, if they're repeatable, they're scalable, what is going to happen for your client at the end of the day is going to be the best thing for them.
Sure.
And then,
Absolutely.
and that's how you generate, clients for life and deep relationships. And to your point on the client consultation, when, people walking off the street in our downtown Lewes office, they're visiting from Cape May or New Jersey or Central PA, whatever it is, they're going to say, hey, what are houses, we get this all the time. What are houses worth around here? Like what could we get for, this price? And then the typical, my response is, well, you could probably get this, but what do you want life to look like?
Yeah.
Right? That gas station question, here are the restaurants around, that kind of stuff you're getting to. I love asking, what lifestyle do you want? Do you want the Hallmark movie? Well, that's going to look like this. Or how do you feel about this type of thing? How do you feel about this community? How do you feel about this? Okay, great. Now we can kind of dial into the area you need to be looking, because so much down here is market orientation.
Yeah.
It's understanding, if you're going to move to the beach, or are you going to move to the beach? Are you moving beachfront?
Yeah.
Are you moving proximity to the beach? It's a totally different thing.
I always say, when you have your coffee in the morning, what do you look, see, smell?
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Are you sitting on your back deck? Are you looking at woods? Are you looking at trees? Are you looking at a pond? Are you looking at the ocean? Are you looking at the bay? What do you smell? What do you hear? Do you want to see your neighbor next to you? Do you not want to see your neighbor next to you? Are you on 5 acres or on a quarter of an acre?
Yep.
All of these things. So, and it's because we have all of that.
Yep.
You can literally be on the beach and within 20 minutes be in the reddened forest.
Yeah.
We've got all of it, and between here and there, you also drove by cornfields with sun setting pasture. So we have all these different lifestyles.
Yeah.
If we're not making sure that our clients are fitting within that lifestyle, then we're missing. But on the sell side, we have the opportunity to market that lifestyle of the home. Yeah. And if we're not just marketing bedrooms and bathrooms, we're marketing a house and a lifestyle, because unlike a lot of areas around the country, a lot of it is roads on the grid.
Yeah.
You move into this town.
Kansas,
I grew up in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
What road are you on? Oh, I'm on the end of Riverview Road. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms is it? Oh, that's by the soccer field, whatever. These are communities, and you can literally have a house that is a half mile from each other, and one's in one community, one's in another community, and they are completely different lifestyles.
Yep.
It can be a completely different price point, because this is built by this style builder with these type of amenities and this targeted price point, and this is smaller homes that's not and has no amenities. So it's one's got water slides and bars and restaurants, and one has a pool and a bathhouse, and it's a perfect fit for the people, each person. And we need to make sure that we're lining them up, but we need to market that house that we're selling for the people that are looking for that lifestyle.
Yeah,
and that's the difference, in my opinion.
That's marketing. You look across industries, it's marketing. Marketing is storytelling, and this sounds a little idyllic, but The fact is, 65 to 70% of it is pricing, right? Pricing and location. Once you get that, how do you set yourself apart? And so now we get into storytelling. How are we crafting what's most important about the lifestyle and this house, like its features? And then how are we going and finding that target buyer? Putting it just in the noise of the MLS is like listing a new product for the first time in Amazon. Like you're going to get lost.
Completely lost.
And for sellers, the idea is like, okay, great. I have 14 days to not get lost, or I have, 90 days to not get lost. What are we going to do? And be able to come with a sophisticated plan, work with our marketing. That's a great thing about Compass. We have an in-house marketing agency that can consult with our agents. And on certain properties, like, certain price points, we can even, go a level deeper and do some demographic deep dives.
Sure.
Trying to get in front of high net worth individuals, like marketing in unique, private jet, airplane magazines, like, and everything in between. It's a fun process, but how do we go and find that target market? Like that's something I think is just lost in our process. And so, like we're even seeing people right now that are having that question of like, man, my listing feels stale. I've been trying to sell it for 60 days. We mispriced. What do we do over the holidays? Do we relist? Do we do this? And so we're encouraging people to take that list, withdraw that listing. Let's relaunch the marketing. Let's reset the days on market. Let's go and get it in front of a new subset of buyers. Because just because you got it wrong at the beginning doesn't mean we have to throw up our hands, but we can start fresh.
Well, you can relaunch immediately as a private exclusive.
Exactly. And not lose any exposure.
Let those 60 days go by to let your reset. Gather data.
Yeah.
Market lifestyle.
Yeah.
And start to hear stories from people like, are we hitting the right lifestyle? Are we marketing it the way that we should?
Yep.
So that way, when you go for that reset in the springtime, now you're like firing all cylinders.
Yeah.
And that's the key. And I think that's what's so, and look, there's plenty of great brokerages out there, and there's tons of amazing agents out there.
Yep.
And that's great, but they're working with the tools that they're working with. And, I'm super excited that I feel like now I'm like, I'm not just running a race. I got the jetpack on my back also. And it's such an awesome feeling to know that I've got that jetpack. I can hit the button whenever I want. And I've got the tools. And that's where I really wanted to. And I so appreciate you taking time to come talk to me, but also to people that are watching this about it, because that's the differentiating factor between, I like to just say me, but but obviously, anyone that's on the platform, it's what Robert has just done an amazing job of building, and giving. And that's the difference also between, in my opinion, franchised brokerages and kind of this corporate, because we've got the economies of scale to really work on a platform that's so strong for everyone, and I don't know, it's been a home run in my opinion, and I love the fact of just having so many tools to provide to my clients.
And having the people to help you, right?
Having
the sales manager's not competing. Like we're only focused on Cory's business and how can we optimize it. And then different technology support, different marketing support, and I think even you go to any office in the country, and even though we do have this corporate, it is wholly owned, corporately the largest brokerage in the country, but you walk in each one, they're going to feel like a boutique. You're going to get a warm welcome, and we do this all the time. We have clients that just moved down here from another. Worked with an agent to sell their house in PA or DC or whatever. They come into our office to print, right? Like we welcome them. Like you treat this like as an opportunity for your clients to get a lift too. And it's really special because we can focus on it. We are focused at the end of the day. It's an end consumer. How can we develop realtors to help them take better care of their client? Like that's the magic.
And having the marketing person, she like sends me a text or an email or calls me and is like, "Hey, what's the story? What can we do different on this?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, excuse me. Did you just reach out to me for no reason to see how can we add services to your client?" And it seems like maybe we're a couple days beyond. Should we redo some marketing pieces? And I'm like, okay. And she's like, "They'll be in your marketing portal tomorrow." And I'm like, what? It all happened so fast, and I'm like, what just happened here? Did someone just reach out and do work to help my client, and I didn't have to do anything? And it's someone that's their specialty. So I'm a big proponent of lanes, and I unfortunately also can do creative, and I can make stuff and burn crap and whatever, all the stuff that I do. And sometimes it allows me to, maybe get a little bit too, broad focused on things. But when I have a listing, it allows me to focus on my listing and allows a marketing people that's their specialty to help support from that angle. And that's what's awesome. Yeah. And that's what's really cool. And it just, again, I had a listing for 3 or 4 months before I made the change. Yep. We pulled it off the market when I made the change. We put it back on and sold it in 3 days.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be a coincidence. I'm not saying that, that Compass has, the silver
sauce.
the silver bullet that makes them all go, but it happened. Yeah. And that was, it was great. It was phenomenal. That's exactly, and it was with a different Compass agent, and that I don't know if and that was where I was like, is this platform maybe doing something?
I paid them to do it. Yeah.
This platform works, I guess. This is great, but it was awesome. So, but again, I really appreciate you taking time out, and I think maybe this should be something new that we do, once a month or something, and kind of talk about the tools that are helping and different ways to verbally strategize so that people that are watching this are can kind of interject mentally themselves into the conversation, like how does this apply to me in my listing or selling or buying or whatever experience, for the Cory Mayo team, but also for the tools that Compass has for them.
Yeah, so. I love that. I'm such a big believer in just again empowering the consumer, sharing ideas, getting their gears turning. I think it's just going to take better care of them, help, and we're doing some pretty fun, exciting things.
There's really cool stuff. So. Yeah. And definitely when Compass One comes out, I think that's its own thing.
That'd be cool.
To really kind of dive into, and we can pull up and actually kind of walk through it on the computer also. So, viewers can kind of see how that platform, it's going to be awesome. But I think that this is great. And to kind of sum things up. So for people that are watching this, if you're thinking about selling, there's no need to wait. Yeah. It's kind of where, the overall, conclusion of this conversation is why wait?
Yeah.
The biggest reason why people wait is because of that dreaded days on market. We don't have to worry about that. So let's grab data so that when we're ready, maybe we sell it.
Yeah.
Before we even have to worry about it. But if we don't, at least we have data, so we're not going in blindfolded. Because that's right. I hate to say that other agents are doing that, because there's people that are educated, but they don't have the true data of hearing how it goes.
So and you're not taught that. Like in real estate school, you're not taught that.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we're taking this from another industry, and even if you're not wanting to move until May, June, July, let's start those trailer releases.
Yeah.
Let's start running some digital ads. Let's start getting in front of people. And we can always go under contract for a long period of time, and we can structure that in a way that's favorable to you as a seller. So there's a lot of different ways
we can market it, even though it's on the Compass platform only. We can still do a podcast talking about that listing, so that other agents hear it. We can do drop offs, so we can do whatever to potentially get outreach to other brokerages that may have a buyer who can reach out to us. Yep. And that's also a difference of hey, how proactive is your agent working for you, whether in or out of Compass platform. And so that's my plug. I am, so call me, because I do that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I don't want people to think, well, I'm only limited to only the people that are within the platform that, or that reverse prospecting. No, if you have someone that's in the Compass platform or the Compass agent, they can also go out and start.
We can publicly market. We have listings up in our storefront in downtown Lewes right now. We have agents that are running digital ads on them. We have agents that are sending out newsletters, doing video walkthroughs, doing posts. All the work that you're doing, on top of that, we can get going without racking up any of those negative insights that could affect your value. So there's the only reason I could think to wait is saying man, I really don't want to think about this until January 1st. I think that's a good reason. Yeah.
And then there are those people, and that's fine.
And then you kind of think great, if I don't want to move until this day, awesome. That doesn't mean you can't be under contract for 90 days, 120 days, whatever. There's so many different ways we can do that. And for too long, the consumer has just been held to this idea of if I go under contract, well, one, if I get an offer, I have to accept it. Yeah. Two, if I go under contract, I got to move in 30 days. Three, my agent isn't suiting my best interests. That's not how you build a sustainable business. And so that's one of the things I think that you really do a great job at is regardless of what's going on in the process, you always come back to like, okay, what does my seller really want?
Yeah.
What does my buyer really want? I think you do a really good job.
Thank you. And that's, I mean, that's, I don't know. I've always kind of looked at things. If you just focus on the one sale that pays your bills, you know what I mean? But you need to look at it, more holistically, and the kind of like the overall, like my goal is I want that person to always be thinking about me for their friends, family, whatever. Yeah. And that's because, not just because they know me, because they're like, the guy did right by me. At every step, the guy did right by me. And I want you to have that same experience that I had. So, yeah, I mean, and I'm sure that there's plenty of other agents that do that also, but that's kind of the core of the process for me is always, and all my things, I'm like client-centered, process. Client-centered process always, always everything should be. So how does this process affect the client? Not me. How does it affect the client, which then in turn affects me in my job. So that's it. But man, thank you again. I think this is great. Hopefully, I know I wanted to do 30 minutes and we're way over.
Did we go over?
I'm sure. I mean, because it's such an awesome topic, and I get so animated about it because I think it's great. But I think we have so much more that we can talk about, and we'll keep doing this. So
sounds good, man.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.